What happened to the New York Jets on Sunday was not just another loss in a lost season. It was an exposure, a stripping away of excuses, long-term narratives, and optimistic refrains about the future. Losing 42-10 to a division rival that treated the game like a coronation rather than a contest forced a far more uncomfortable question to the surface. Is Aaron Glenn actually the right person to lead this rebuild? Bad teams lose games. Rebuilding teams lose games. Even poorly coached teams lose games in predictable, almost routine ways. What the Jets displayed against the Patriots went beyond all of that. It looked like a team that had emotionally checked out, a roster that no longer believed the messaging coming from the sideline, and a coaching staff that no longer had the ability to summon urgency, discipline, or resistance. That's the line no organization can afford to cross. The Jets are 3-13. No one expected a playoff run after the trade deadline. In fact, many fans quietly welcomed losses once it became clear the season was unsalvageable, understanding the value of draft position. But Sunday was different. You can accept losing. You cannot accept humiliation, indifference, and public disrespect in your own building. New England scored touchdowns on its first 6 possessions, not 6 drives over the course of a game, 6 straight possessions, every possession in the first half. By halftime, it was 35-3, and that score honestly flattered the Jets. The Patriots nearly made it 7 touchdowns in 7 drives, if not for a kick clanging off the upright. Drake May was so dominant that he was removed from the game barely 5 minutes into the third quarter, his job completed, the result already beyond doubt. And that's where the tone of the afternoon became alarming. This was not a Patriots team desperately fighting for survival. This was a confident, composed team enjoying itself. Patriots fans took over MetLife Stadium chanting MVP while May carved up the Jets' defense. New England extended drives with taunting penalties and roughing the passer calls because the Jets had completely lost control of their emotions. At one point late in the first half, the Patriots appeared content to run the clock out and head to halftime. The Jets called a timeout anyway. New England responded by abandoning conservatism, spreading the field, and scoring again. That sequence mattered. It wasn't just points. It was a message. There would be no mercy and no respect. When opponents feel comfortable embarrassing you, something has already gone wrong internally. Aaron Glenn's post-game comments told a revealing story. He admitted the effort wasn't acceptable. He acknowledged that the coaches shared responsibility, that those words are honest, but honesty alone doesn't fix the problem. At this stage of a season, effort is not optional. Players on losing teams are still playing for contracts, reputations, and futures. When a group fails to show consistent fight, that is usually a sign that belief in leadership has eroded. That's why the conversation can't simply be about quarterback play, injuries, or youth. This team is not a quarterback away. Sunday made that painfully clear. No quarterback, no matter how talented, fixes structural dysfunction, schematic confusion, and emotional disengagement. The Jets' original vision under Glenn was bold. He arrived projecting confidence and authority, presenting himself as a culture changer. At his introductory press conference, he spoke aggressively about accountability and toughness. At the combine and owners' meetings, he said the roster was built to compete immediately. Training camp reinforced that messaging. Expectations were set not quietly but loudly. Since then, nearly every pillar of that vision has collapsed. The quarterback plan failed almost immediately. Justin Fields was handed the starting job without competition, a gamble that backfired quickly. His struggles mirrored, and in some cases exceeded, the inconsistency he showed in Chicago and Pittsburgh. He was benched for Tyrod Taylor, then replaced again by Brady Cook. None succeeded, and none looked comfortable in offensive coordinator Tanner Engstrand's system. The offense never developed an identity. It never found rhythm, confidence, or adaptability. That alone would be concerning. But the defense, Glenn's supposed calling card, has been even more alarming. As the season enters its final week, the Jets are on the brink of an astonishing and damning statistic, potentially finishing an entire season without recording a single interception. In today's NFL, with the volume of passing and the emphasis on creating turnovers, that is almost unfathomable. It speaks to scheme, technique, anticipation, and confidence, all areas that fall squarely under coaching. Even more troubling is the regression of young defensive cornerstones. Players like Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson were expected to take steps forward. Instead, they have stagnated or declined. Glenn's first defensive coordinator hire, Steve Wilks, didn't survive the season. His replacement, Chris Harris, has not improved results. At some point, coordinator changes stop being explanations and start being reflections of the head coach's vision and decision-making. Sunday's game offered smaller moments that revealed deeper issues. Early in the second half, desperate to inject life into the team, the Jets successfully converted a fake punt. It was creative, risky, and briefly energizing. 3 plays later, facing another fourth down, they attempted another fake. The Patriots were ready for it, stopped it easily, and scored shortly afterward. That sequence felt emblematic of the Jets' season. Impulsive aggression without structure, creativity without foundation, desperation without discipline. Players didn't hide their frustration afterward. Jermaine Johnson called the performance embarrassing. Quincy Williams spoke about salvaging pride, not seasons. Those are not the words of a team rallying behind a shared belief. They're the words of professionals trying to process public failure. In lost seasons, organizations look for progress in other forms. Are young players developing? Is there schematic clarity? Is the team competing hard even when the standings are unforgiving? Are players buying into the vision even when results are poor? The Jets currently offer no clear yes to any of those questions. That's why the scrutiny around Aaron Glenn is unavoidable. This isn't about firing a coach after one bad year. It's about recognizing warning signs that historically precede deeper organizational failure. Teams that quit on the field rarely turn things around simply by changing quarterbacks or adding talent. Culture precedes talent. Buy-in precedes execution. Glenn often repeats a phrase, "Don't let go of the rope." It's a metaphor for unity, perseverance, and shared struggle. It's a good line. It resonates. But metaphors lose power when reality contradicts them. On Sunday, the Jets didn't just loosen their grip on the rope, they dropped it entirely. To his credit, Glenn has not deflected blame. He admitted he was upset with the coaches as much as the players. That matters. Accountability is a starting point, but leadership at this level is ultimately judged by outcomes, not intentions or slogans. Fans want to believe. They want a reason to invest emotionally in a process that promises pain now for success later. Rebuilds are tolerated when there is visible direction. What fans cannot tolerate is drift. Seasons that feel wasted, rosters that feel directionless, and performances that feel joyless. Sunday felt like a breaking point, not because of the score, but because of what it revealed. The Jets didn't just lose to a better team. They looked disorganized, unmotivated, and fundamentally disconnected. That's the kind of loss that forces front offices to reassess more than depth charts and draft boards. The future of the Jets will likely include a new quarterback, perhaps Fernando Mendoza or Dante Moore. It will include more roster turnover. But before any of that matters, the organization has to answer a more basic question. Is the current leadership capable of building something players believe in? Because if belief is gone, no plan works, and on Sunday, belief was nowhere to be found. What happened to the New York Jets on Sunday was not just another loss in a lost season. It was an exposure, a stripping away of excuses, long-term narratives, and optimistic refrains about the future. Losing 42-10 to a division rival that treated the game like a coronation rather than a contest forced a far more uncomfortable question to the surface. Is Aaron Glenn actually the right person to lead this rebuild? Bad teams lose games. Rebuilding teams lose games. Even poorly coached teams lose games in predictable, almost routine ways. What the Jets displayed against the Patriots went beyond all of that. It looked like a team that had emotionally checked out, a roster that no longer believed the messaging coming from the sideline, and a coaching staff that no longer had the ability to summon urgency, discipline, or resistance. That's the line no organization can afford to cross. The Jets are 3-13. No one expected a playoff run after the trade deadline.